Welcome to the Practicing Accountant podcast, where we dive into the strategies and insights necessary to run a successful accounting firm in this modern age. In today's episode, we're discussing the top 5 things every firm owner should do this summer to set themselves up for success. Not just for the summer, but also for next busy season. It's never too early. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Practicing Accountant podcast. Thanks for watching.
So we're going to talk about 5 things that every firm owner should do this summer. And you came up with a list, and I have not heard this list yet. So I'll just let you run with it, and I'll comment, disagree, agree as necessary.
Technically, I haven't heard this list yet either. So this is just entertaining for me. Number one thing that I think a firm owner should do this summer is establish a new behavior. Now, that new behavior could be a client behavior, like how you bill for overages, or how you manage scope creep, or how you communicate with them, or how you provide information to them, or you request information from them. It could be a personal behavior, like what time you wake up every morning, what you do for your health, both physical and mental, whether it be a hobby. And I'm sure you've known a couple, but I know a lot of accountants who lack hobbies that have just not had time to really get into and find something that they enjoy doing besides returns or books.
Yep.
And so I think this summer, this time of year, is a perfect time to establish new behavior. There are hundreds of thousands of books out there on different behaviors that you could be developing that could help you. Atomic Habits is a great book to help you find something that you like and develop it into a habit or behavior. But the reason why this is important to me, this new behavior, is when do New Year resolutions pop up? They pop up in January. And what happens in January? We start getting busy. And what happens to New Year resolutions for accountants come January? Well, they fall off like, the second week, because what happens in the second week? Their hours go from 40 to 60 or worse.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to try to start a new habit when your work habits are chimed to change based on the season.
So you're saying tax firm owners should make their New Year's resolutions in June?
Yeah, sure.
July 1st.
June 30th. July 1st, sure. They should identify what new behaviors and new habits they want to form now, because trying to start a new habit in busy season is next to impossible. Like, you've usually got around 60 days or so to really form a habit. And there's different science on that. Some people will say 30, some will say 62, and everyone's got an opinion on it. But the point is, it needs repetition over a period of time for it to stick. Mm-hmm. And to try to start something in January is just impossible. Even in December is impossible because you've got Christmas. Even in November is hard because you've got Thanksgiving. October's got a deadline. September's got a deadline. August has a deadline. Guess what doesn't have a deadline? July. At least I'm sure none that my head can bring up automatically. But it's a great time to be creating a new skill or behavior right now that you have a chance of actually sticking. And make it something important, something that's going to change your professional, personal life in a positive way. And start practicing it now. So number one, establishing a new behavior.
Good.
Number 2, and this is more of a recurring theme from yours and my conversations, but number 2 is plan intentionally. And what I mean by that is, right now is the time, or around the time, that you should be planning for next busy season. Mm-hmm. Intentionally planning for what you want next busy season to look like. Like right now, look how many hours you worked over this last busy season or this last year. Is it 2,600? Is it 2,200? Is it 3,000? Like take a look, reflect on those number of hours last year, and start thinking about what you want this next season to be. Do you want it to be that many again or fewer? Do you want it to be more because you've got capacity? I don't know. But right now is a great time to reflect on what you have done and start planning for what you want to do. Because unless you do something differently, it is not going to be different.
Yep.
And so there's plenty of time in this year to start planning intentionally for how you want this next busy season to go. over and above that, it could be, what's your vision for the firm? Maybe it's changed. Maybe, like I talked about earlier, maybe you want to bring financial planning in and you want to go get the AICPA. I can't remember the name of it. There's an AICPA certification that's for financial planners.
Not CGMA. No, that's
no. It's a clear designation for a financial planner, and it's easier to get because you have the CPA already, meaning it doesn't require all the school that like the CFA, CFP, the professional financial planners have to get. But maybe now's the time to start planning intentionally for your education so that you become a financial planner. Or it might be, I want to add a person this year. Or it might be, I want to bring in TaxDome. It might be that I want to, implement new software or strategies into how I approach. But now's the time to start planning intentionally for those changes so that they are actually something that you are changing while you have time to change before we get that hamster wheel to go another loop and land in January without any differences, nor should we have any expectations for any different.
Yeah, let me throw an anecdote on top of that one.
Yeah.
So we would always have great ideas for next tax season. We know what we need to do, and we would just inevitably put it off until October after the extension deadline.
Sure.
And then comes Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and then you don't get anything done. And then you try to cram this huge new project into 2 weeks in January, and it's every year is a shit show. And
it's like being hungover. If you go out and you drink too much, or you even just eat too much, or you just do too much of something, the next day you feel it.
Yeah.
And it causes you to be lazy. It causes you to do, just very mundane activity. You're not going on a hike. You're not, writing the next great American novel. You're just camping out, relaxing, chilling. And that's what busy season does to you. Busy season creates a hangover.
Yeah.
And it causes you to have to recover and have to get that energy back and spend time with those you love and doing things you love doing. And because of that, you lose the time to be productive as much as you can. And so it's not to say that we can stop the hangover, but it's not really a hangover. We don't really feel sick. We're not puking. We're not our heads in the toilet bowls. Like, we have a chance to plan intentionally for this coming year. There's a great book called Traction. There's a sister book to it called Get a Grip. And both of those, they define the entrepreneurial operating system, the EOS. And it's a great read because it's very formulaic in how it helps you define vision. Because one of the things you may be planning intentionally is that vision. But it goes through vision, it goes through goals, and goes through tactics in that order. And I want to clarify this for your listeners. Vision is like a 3 to 5 year kind of thing. It's where I want this firm to be. 3 years is fine. In 3 years. Mm-hmm. Goals should exist for each year in that 3 years. And those goals should all be things that are helping you become the vision. Mm-hmm. And then tactics are things that you do to accomplish the goals. So they happen more frequently, like quarterly. Maybe it's monthly. Maybe it's every 60, whatever. But tactics are things that you do that allow you to achieve the goal, that allow you to achieve the vision. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things to be planning intentionally is the vision, the goals, and the tactics so that you get to where you are. And now's the time. So that's number 2. That's number 2.
Perfect.
Number 3 is go fishing. Now, I don't necessarily mean go fishing, but that's fun too in the summertime. But what I mean by go fishing is I want you to go fishing for that ideal client. Like, I want you to go out there and throw out some bait, throw out some lures, troll, fly fish, whatever analogy you want to grab hold of, but start fishing for your best or perfect client. Show up where it hangs out. Like, if your ideal client is a construction company from $5 to $10 million, where are they hanging out this summer? What are they doing? What conferences are they going to? What industry groups are they members of? What conferences in Vegas are they going to, or downtown? Like go hang out where the fish are and throw out some lines, throw out some lures, throw out some baits, start some conversations, start the networking. And I'm holding this item, number 3, go fishing, in mind, because one of our goals, yours and my goal for your listeners, is to create a pace where someone is coming in who fits a certain definition of perfect client, and we're letting go of more of those clients that we don't want. So that's one in, more out. And phishing allows you to let more out. The phishing allows you to say, you know what, I found this perfect client. They want to work with me. I don't have capacity. Well, bullshit, you do. You just haven't made it yet. And now you have an excuse to make it. I've got a great client that wants to work with me. Why would I work with these jerks who don't give me their stuff on time, who call me in March, who don't fill out the forms, who always ask me to do more and don't want to pay for it? The guys that only want to see me once a year, why are we keeping space for them when we have this one that we just went fishing for and looks really tasty, and we want to bring it onto the shore and we want to put it in our boat and we want it to become part of our client book?
100%.
And
you could say step 2, planning intentionally. That's where you would identify that ideal client that you want to go fishing for. Step 3.
Absolutely. And I think another part of that, just to dovetail off what you said, know what you'll say yes and no to, because that's ultimately what we're talking about. Like if the phone rings or the email bings and you got a request for someone that wants you to do their work next year, if you don't have a reason to say yes or no, you're most likely going to say yes. Why? Because most accountants are people pleasers. Yeah. We like to stand around with our PP out, our people pleaser out, and we like to say yes to whatever shows up. And so if we don't have an idea in our head of what we want to say yes or no to prior to that call, we are most likely going to be in a position of saying, I'll figure it out. Let's make some room. I'm sure it won't be as bad. There won't be as many transactions next year. There won't be as many new statutes, whatever. Like just knowing what you'll say yes and no to when you're fishing is great. Like, and it's a great way to use the analogy of fishing too, because there's a bunch of shit you throw back. Like, I don't want that carp. It's not disgusting fish. Big fish, fun to catch, but disgusting fish. Yep. But we got to know that it's a carp and we don't want it. So maybe go fishing for the ideal client, but also be sure to let go of those carps. Absolutely. Which I think is a good segue into our 4th one for things a firm owner should do this summer. And that is, no surprise here, raise prices.
Yep.
Raise prices. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to raise prices today, but you could. You could at least come up with what your number is. You could say, I've got 500 clients that I charge $500 per return. So, call it whatever that is, 250,000. And if I raise prices 10%, that'd give me an extra $25,000 without doing anything else. Just 10% too. That's not like huge. Colorado Society just raised their fees almost 10%. And I didn't say anything. I just paid it. It just automatically went out. I went out, looked at it. I was like, that was more. And then I moved on with my day. Like a lot of clients would probably look at it that way. And if you raised your fees 10% on 500 clients that you're charging $500 each, and if 10% of them disappeared, they said, no, I don't want to pay your new fees. Guess what? Your revenue hasn't changed, but your hours and your capacity has gone up. And so if 1 out of 10 of your clients say no to a 10% raise, which is bullshit, unlikely to happen.
Right.
Maybe it is. Even if it is, it doesn't affect you. You lose clients, yes. You have the same revenue, yes, but you also have more hours. Yeah. So I say raise prices. I think this is a great time to look last year and look at what your effective rate was. It may make you want to puke. If you take your total revenue divided by the number of hours you put into it, there's your effective rate. Doesn't matter what you're charging the clients, but it's your effective rate. And if that number is less than what you would normally charge a client to do work, we got a problem.
Right.
We're letting some stuff go. Our realization is less than it should be. And so this is a great time to understand what our effective rate is. It's a great time to understand what our normal rates are. It's a great time to consider what would happen if I raised 10% on my fees next year. In a land of inflation, in a land where people know accountants are harder to come by, in a land where there is more complexity into what they have to report and file, a 10% raise may not be a blip on their radar.
No,
but it might be a big one on people listening to this.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So that's number 4, is raise prices.
Good.
And number 5, create client memories. Over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I've been fishing with a client twice, two different people I've gone fishing with. And one time I played disc golf with a client. And those things, first of all, you spend 4 hours on a boat with someone, you're going to make some memories out there. You're going to see something happen or something crazy or funny will occur. You really get to know someone that well or better with that much time. Disc golf, the client that never played before, and I got to walk the path with him and throw some frisbees and have some good times. And each of those were a significant investment of my time, about 4 hours each, which compared to a round of golf is actually still less, because by the time you leave, go play, have lunch or drinks afterwards, it's, you're looking at 6 to 8 hours of golf time. And who remembers all the golf rounds they played? Not that often. But how many times do you remember the first time you played disc golf or spent 4 hours on the boat in Windsor or on top of Kenosha Pass? Like, create some client memories this summer. Do something special with the clients that mean the most to you. Do something unique. Don't just go through another round of let's have lunch or let's play a round of golf. Like, create something a little bit more intimate, a little bit more personal, like a hike, like golf, like fishing, like, camping is a little bit of a stretch. That's a lot of time together. I can't even get my wife to go camping with me. So maybe I should ask clients to go camping because I have a better chance of getting a yes from them than my wife. But those client memories, they stick. Like, I look back on my career and I can remember a lot of wonderful memories with clients doing things where we were both a little bit uncomfortable in the situation, but we really came together and got to know each other better. And those relationships then move it beyond just that transactional relationship of you're my tax guy and you're going to review and file my taxes to what else do you do? What else is about you? What else do you provide? It provides an accountant an opportunity to say, what else do you wish I did? Or what else can I do for you that I'm not doing? Like, it really strengthens that relationship, and trust is built in those longer extended memories, and it becomes a story. Even today, I went on Amazon and I went fishing on Friday with a client. And this morning I went on Amazon and I bought a DVD. Yes, they still make them. I bought a DVD for this guy because he had never seen a movie that I wanted him to see. And I bought him some flies that I lost because a couple of fish stole the flies that he let me borrow. So, I sent those to him today. So that's going to continue that memory. And it's going to be something that anytime I see him again in the future, we're going to talk about the day we caught those fish, and it'll stick.
Well, you've created instant loyalty there.
Sure. It's just a lot deeper of a relationship. Now, again, this isn't for all clients. This is just for a few that are really worth an investment of your time, possibly because there's more things you could do for them that you're not doing, or there's an opportunity that they could be a better referral for you, meaning you can ask them to refer other clients like them to you.
You bet.
And it's one of my favorite business development techniques that no one uses, is the sit down with a client and say, hey, growing my business, I really like working with companies like yours or families like yours. And if you knew of like one or two other folks like you that you think could benefit from my services, I would love an introduction. Like, how many times would those words come out of your mouth or really any accountant's mouth with a client? Not very often. Very often. But it's one of the primary referral sources for or business development efforts for a CPA is word of mouth. It's client referral. And sometimes we get it naturally because they just talk about us and they love what we do. And sometimes they just forget or don't think we need it.
They don't.
So sometimes, they don't. They're like, he's fine. He's busy. Every time I ask him, what is he? Right. He says, how are you? How's business? He's like, oh, it's busy. I work 8 hours. It's horrible. Just like we talked. Right. But the truth is, we may want to grow, and we may want to grow with a specific type of client. And that specific type of client may be just like the kind of clients we already have.
Yeah.
So we should ask them to find some of their friends that are just like them or other businesses like them. And I bet they would do it. And so, going back to the fishing thing or going fishing, going fishing for new clients may include going to your clients for new clients.
Yeah.
And having that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So summarizing, I've got number 1, establish a new behavior. Number 2, plan intentionally. Number 3, go fishing. Number 4, raise prices. And number 5, build client memories. Those are my
Actually go fishing.
my 5 things every firm owner should do this summer.
Very cool.
Now I had a much longer list than that of things that I was thinking of, like training and development, boring. PTO, I hope so. Take care of your health. Yeah. Go on a picnic, spend more time with your family. Yeah. I just kind of wanted it to be something a little bit more intimate for this audience.
The only one I would add there, it's more of it goes in with intentionality, but take this time to fire your bad clients.
Mm-hmm.
It maybe goes without saying, but that should be, 5.1. Just now is the time to do it. You don't want to do it in January. You don't want to leave them high and dry. They're good paying clients, possibly good, but paying clients for however long. So don't leave them high and dry. Don't leave it on a sour note with them. But
when is the perfect time to fire a client?
I like right now.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't want to fire them as soon as I give them a tax return, because they're probably already frustrated. They just paid the IRS, that they just paid you. They're probably in a good mood because it's summertime and they don't have to think about taxes till next year. So maybe now's a good time. I don't know if there's a right answer to that. What's your opinion?
So I haven't thought this through completely, but I'll just say what's in my head. The best time to fire a client is after they paid you.
Okay. Sure.
I mean, you've done the work. They paid you. There's a clear break in service at that point. There's a clear stop to what was done, what was agreed to, what was compensated for. The contingency has been passed. And at that point in time, the obligation between the two, the client and the CPA, is wide open. There's no one owes anyone anything. It's clear.
Yeah.
And it can be completely rewritten at that point. I find that the longer you wait, it's just like when you try to quit public accounting. Like when you try to quit public accounting, you say, well, I've got to do it sometime in the summertime or after I get my bonus. Right?
Yeah.
But I can't wait till January because no one fucking quits in January. That's just rude. And I'm going to burn a bridge and they're going to say bad things about me. And so if I don't do it before January, then I got to do another busy season with them. It's the same thing with the client, right? Like I don't want to fire them in January because then they're going to go out there on Yelp and say something shitty about me.
Right.
Or, they're not going to refer me any work anymore, or they're just going to be jerks, or they're not going to pay me for what I did in planning in November and December. And so before another ounce of effort or hour is put into a client is the right time to be considering firing them. And to my point earlier about the going fishing, the best also time to fire a client is when you have another client that you really want to work with and they're not it. So I'd say there's 2 areas there. There's 1 after they paid, and 2 after you found someone better, which sounds horrible. Like if you talked about that in like dating terms,
I was
it's
thinking
like,
that.
I'll date you until I find someone hotter. And then, and then you're done. Right. But that's kind of it. That's kind of what we're saying. We've got a lot of relationships with our clients that are probably bad, that are probably not people we'd want to go on 2nd and 3rd dates with. But here we are, like on our 7th or 8th year or date with them. And we just continue to further this relationship that we just wish someone hotter would show up. And that's why going fishing is a part of this too. So the best time for me is either after they paid and there's a break of service and you're not investing more time in them and they're not expecting more time from you. And the second being when you find someone that's hotter.
Yeah, you bet.
But I do know that the closer you get to the end of the year, the harder it becomes to fire a client because work starts, conversations start, engagement letters are expected. They may even ask for your time, or they may just expect it at that point because you haven't said anything differently. And so there is a nice little window here where those expectations are low, and you can have a very amicable conversation now to say, we've outgrown you, or we're no longer working in this area, or I'm cutting back on the number of clients I have right now. And you can have those and give them plenty of time to go find someone else, because there will be someone else who helps them. So don't be worried that they're going to be like out on a corner, homeless next April without an accountant. They'll find one. and they'll probably pay more than they're paying you right now.
I bet so too. Even if they go to H&R Block, they're probably going to pay you more than you're charging them.
Possibly, yeah. Possibly, yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Anything else, Doug? Any closing remarks?
Nope, that's it. I hope everyone does have a wonderful summer.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on the Practicing Accountant podcast. We hope these 5 essential actions inspire you to make the most of your summer and set your firm up for future success. If you found this episode valuable, please share it with your colleagues and leave us a review. Tune in next time for more tips and strategies to elevate your accounting practice. Until then, stay focused, be intentional, and keep building the firm of your dreams.